I knew you would be full of ideas. I think, well, you know how it is. You kind of
I'm full of something. That's what I'm full of something. That's for sure.
Welcome to the Two Authors Podcast, an entertaining chat show hosted by best-selling mystery and thriller authors Douglas Pratt and Nicholas Harvey, in lively, humorous and informative conversation with distinguished guests who share their thoughts and experience about forging a successful author career.
Welcome to this week's show, brought to you as always by Vellum, the wonderful, most fabulous formatting solution in the entire universe.
Tell us something really cool about Vellum, Doug.
Oh, I'm going to tell you something really cool about Vellum. I just was doing some translations, and I like to use drop caps on my... whatever. I know you're like, in my day, we didn't have drop caps.
Actually, in the old books, they all had drop caps.
But they're all flourished. And
Yeah.
No, I do like the drop caps. I think they're kind of cool way to start the chapter. But it was a translation, so it was already in French, so I didn't know what it said. But I just knew it didn't have a drop cap on that chapter 1. Every other chapter had one, and I was, struggled. And so it's really cool how easy the drop cap is until it's not there. It's still easy because once I emailed their support, because I think I asked Nick first. I even asked our friend Drew. Both of y'all were like, no, drop caps are stupid. So then I reached out to
That's not what I said, but yeah.
No, you said drop caps are fucking stupid.
That may be what I said, yeah.
Hey, but I reached out to Vellum support, and let me tell you what, they were so fast. I don't even think I'd hit send before the response came back, and they were telling me what I did wrong, which was entirely my stupidity. It took me hitting one button, which cleared the format and started all over.
In case anyone was unsure what the fix was going to be. Yeah.
The issue was completely my stupidity. They're using my Netface now in the manuals to don't do what Doug does. But no, it just blows me away. Every time I have to deal, I love Vellum anyway because they support us, but even when I deal with them, we wouldn't have them on here if we didn't love what they're doing. And
absolutely,
it is amazing what they can do. So we definitely check out the drop caps. One day, Nick will have a nice flowery drop cap, but you can get different styles. You can get like flowery one. You get a big bowl one. You might could get one. I don't know. They may have like the weird characters like they did in like Alice in Wonderland or something like that. You have that might be.
I choose the one for all my books, the one that's not there.
There you go. Also, big thank you to all of our Patreon supporters out there. So if you guys feel you're getting value from the show, please come over and support us at patreon.com/The Two Authors Podcast. We do love this show. It is something we're going to do it no matter what, but your patronage helps us pay for some of the bills and keeps the lights on, so we don't have to always do it. And we try to provide you some awesome, cool extras in there. And that free tier's got some cool stuff, but just for a couple of dollars, you can get us, videos of us on a regular basis, that just us talking, not any weird videos. Those are different, but...
You can find them elsewhere on the internet.
You can find them elsewhere for a lot more than a few bucks. But no, we have podcast nuggets, which is just us kind of sharing some different insights. But we also get bonus questions from all of our different guests. And also you can kind of pop on there and you can buy the listener question, which means you get to come on here and ask us the question. And maybe while you're here, you can plug your book or your service or whatever you want to plug. You'll have a whole minute and a half that we're going to give you. Just to do that.
Just like you're going to hear in a moment. And today we have a fun guest. This is our good friend. Our guest today is an Amazon #1 rom-com bestseller, Suzy K Quinn. She's a sweetheart.
She is so sweet. Yeah, Suzy Q. She'll be here chatting with us. But first, we have our listener question, which actually comes from our amazing guest from just a few episodes back, Craig Johnson, the author of the Longmire series.
I guess the big thing for me, to ask is, and this is always of interest to me, I mean, there's so many aspects of a book that have to align, kind of like a planetary kind of system like that, before you really can make that first step onto that big, vast, open Arctic space of that first page of a novel. I guess for me, the question would be for you guys, what is the element that is the trigger mechanism? What's the catalyst that you think to yourself, oh, okay.
I love that freaking question. I love it. And I have an answer for you. I can go first. It's never the same twice. I have to start writing that first page. I mean, we're in a little bit of a different situation. You have deadlines. Everyone has deadlines. Doesn't matter if, like you talked about, people off air, people write a book every 7 years. There's still a deadline somewhere along the line in there, right? So
they just ignore it.
They probably ignore it. But as an indie, we're pumping out stuff, so we can't muse for a month and a half before we do it. We got to get down and go. But I have to have one element to get started. And sometimes it's the ending. Sometimes it's the inciting incidents that's going to kick it off. Sometimes it's some shift that my character has to go through, some experience, some arc that the character's got to go through. And I know, but to actually start the first chapter, and I know some people who don't start at the first chapter, they'll skip that and go on, but I always start the first chapter. Is I've just got to know what my inciting incident is going to be to kick it off. And then I'll build that chapter around the inciting incident. What do you got, Doug?
I would say mine is probably, I think I'd say the hook. I mean, it's definitely the big thing. Like, I got the idea for at least the over-encompassing storyline. And it may be just simply like, I really want to throw a sniper in and I want to figure out something with that. And then I'll just start working the story and base it sometimes on a scene. And once I get an idea for the hook, then I narrow it down to, I want the scene, and then I start building out from there. So that's kind of I've done a little bit of, it depends on the book. So it does a big depend. So it does kind of jump. I have so many, like Nick said, I have so many stories already like lined up of what I'm going to write next, that sometimes in my head, even if I'm not working on paper, I've got the different stories that I start fleshing out, when I'm driving the tractor or driving around town, and then I might be working those stories in my head where I can come up with a conceivable opening that gives me that inciting incident usually. So
you listen to music while you write?
Very rarely.
I don't do it every time, but I do listen to it rarely. Usually the only time I do it is when I want to tune out the people in my house, or tune out something, because like if I'm working and I've got dogs going nuts and my wife is doing something, I might want to like isolate myself. But
that's generally when I do it too. And we're nomadic, so we're often in different environments. For a long time, we were living in an RV when we were in America, and so you never knew what you were going to be around where you were camped at, and you'd get. So I would listen to some music then, and I want something that's very chill and just background. I'll focus on the music if I'm not careful. If I play my favorite music, I'll focus on the music.
You'll be singing along. You'll be singing along.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, but I can't do the Stephen King, thrash metal while I'm writing or anything like that. So, Craig, we've got to turn it around. How do you start that first page?
Like that. I kind of float. I have to float my stick with yours like that, because sometimes, it's a message that I'm trying to get across like that, with this novel. Sometimes it's like one of those articles that I've plucked, out of, a newspaper. Sometimes it's like where the characters are and where it is, I want them to be by the time I get to the end of this particular segment, of their life. And then sometimes, it's a moment in that book, a critical moment, the ending of the book, the beginning of the book, all of those things, those planets all kind of have to align like that. They really, really do. And in answer to the music question, I've got a good friend who's like a member of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts. And they don't do it now because everything's downloaded, but they used to like send all of their members all of the soundtracks, for all of the movies, from a year. I mean, imagine how many soundtracks that is. They would not have any artwork with them or anything. It would just be a naked, soundtrack from a film. And I see so few films, the visuals didn't mean anything to me like that. And so it's wonderful and very emotive music that you can throw on that doesn't have lyrics most generally like that. That's been made for a film like that. But when you don't know what the film is like that, you're coming up with your own ideas as to what it is like that. And so I've still got stacks and stacks of those that I'm still wading my way through like that.
That's perfect. It's the soundtrack to a movie, and you're basically writing a movie in a book. So that's what you're doing. You've got your own soundtrack going on in the background.
I do, if I'm lucky, yeah.
Brilliant. Hey, thanks again for being a great sport and coming on and asking our question.
You bet, guys. Thank you.
Welcome to the show, Suzy K Quinn. It's so awesome to have you here. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's wonderful to be here, Doug. Wonderful to see your lovely face again. And yes, I've missed you since Florida. That was fun.
I know you were one of my favorite people I met in Florida. So, I mean, I shouldn't say that on here because other people listen, but
yeah,
I think you're okay.
Truly, the feeling is mutual. And we've now both admitted it in front of lots of people who we also met.
I mean, in fairness, like I didn't meet Adina, but I met her in Louisiana, so I'm still fairly safe on that one because she's still pretty cool too. So, but yeah, no, it's so great to have you. So, just kind of start us off. Tell us a little bit how you started writing, how long you've been writing, and how what all you've published, and kind of just the background of your history in the publishing world.
Okay, so I first started writing when I was really young, probably like most of us, right? When you're, like 6, 7, writing stories and things like that. And my mum, it turns out, I didn't know this until I was an adult, but it turns out my mum had kind of a bit of a chip on her shoulder about not being good at English. Because in the UK, you have this sort of grammar school system and you have to pass exams, and she failed the English part of the exam. So I think she just sort of became obsessive that her kids were going to be good at English, right? So me and my twin sister are both authors, right? And she used to really, and she did it so well. She was really obsessed with making us good at English, but she read about how to do it in like not a hothouse type way. So she used to like read to us, make it enjoyable. She'd make the room really comfortable. She'd take us to the library, make us choose our books, all this kind of stuff. And she used to enter us for story competitions. And that was the first one I remember was when we were 9. My sister and I both entered, and we both won the first prize. I've entered and failed many story competitions as an adult, but that was a nice one.
Wait, listen, the first one's a good one to win. That's always nice. Gives you a nice boost of confidence.
Yeah, the first one gave me false hope that I could potentially win a competition. I don't think I've ever won a writing competition since then, but I've won the better prize, which is having lots of readers, which is wonderful. So,
oh yeah, take that every time.
So I kind of, I was traveling a lot when I was in my sort of early 20s, not really knowing what I was doing with my life, but trying to figure it out. And then it just kind of hit me one day like, oh no, I think I write books. I think that's the thing. The thing I do is writing. I really love writing. And it was not a happy realization at all, because it's a really competitive thing. You can't train for it. You can't get a degree and just be a writer. It's just so unpredictable. But anyway, with that realization, I started writing my first book. It took about 7 years, sort of rewriting really the same book over and over. And then I got my first publishing deal when I was 30. There's a slightly sort of tangent story I could tell about meeting my agent, but I'll wait. If you want to ask that, then go ahead and ask. But so I got a publishing deal when I was 30. It was a good deal. It was with Hachette, and it was like a high 5-figure advance, right? Which was and it was a good editor. So I was really happy. And then that book bombed, right? Or by my estimation of success, bombed. It sold about 10,000 copies, which I did not expect. I kind of thought like, I've got paid this big advance. It's all going to be fine. So then I kind of felt, oh, right, okay, better do something quick, and self-published. That my publisher did offer to buy my next book, but then to be honest, I'm a bit hazy about this, but my recollection is something like this is what happened. They were going to buy it, and then they offered a sort of lower advance, but still not too bad. And then they decided not to buy it. And I don't know why or what. I think it was, I can't remember, but I was really annoyed about it, basically. I was really annoyed because they kind of dangled it and then said, oh no, actually it's not going to work for us. So self-published it and walked away from it thinking nothing would happen, and came back and found there was like some reviews for it, like good reviews. Then found there were 2 1-star reviews, nearly took it down. There's a lesson there, isn't there? And nearly kind of removed it from sale because I thought, why am I doing it? It's a self-published thing. No one's kind of, said it's okay to put this into the world. But I left it, and it had sold like 50 copies the first month, which I have to say felt great. It felt more amazing than my publishing deal or anything, because it had just kind of happened. And then it just went just crazy, and it ended up selling, I think that one book or the series, it sold 250,000 that first book, and then the series sold more like 500,000 or something. And then I wrote a completely different, this is my bad habit, a completely different genre, which was the Bad Mother series. And they sold 250,000 or something like that. This is back when self-publishing was much easier and you just put books up.
I was going to say, what year was this that you published that? That's a good.
So my first book, the sort of really the one that went really crazy was, I think it was 2013, something like that. And then the Bad Mother series, I think it was 2015. And I'm slowly kind of realizing now, I've got to advertise now. But at the time, I didn't have to do very much, which was wonderful. So that's that. And then I sort of do both at the moment. So I publish with traditional publishers and I self-publish as well. And yeah, so the long answer to that question.
So no, that's okay. Well, we love a good long answer. So there's two things. One, I like that, you see those 2 1-star reviews and then you're like, oh, but now you look back and you go, well, hey, how many 1-star reviews did it take to get to that point? It's kind of awesome. But now second, let's hear about this agent. I want to know how you met your agent.
No pressure. This better be a good story here, Suzy.
It better be really good. Yeah. Now we're all on the edge of my seat.
You teed it up.
It's not that good, but it's basically, I could make one up. And we were talking before about editing stuff out, right? So I'll say the first part. The second part might have to be edited. I don't know. We'll see. But so the first part is when I was in my 20s, I got sacked from like every job I ever had because I was just, I knew everything, and was quite competent, to be fair, often was more competent than the people who were telling me what to do. So that was a problem. Expressing that was a problem. And so I set up my own business. And it was a copywriting business, but I put up one, and this was the day and age where websites were like, hardly anyone was making websites. So if you put up a website and you put good keywords, people just found your business, So I put up one page for ghostwriting, thinking, let's see, and it turned out to be the most popular page on that website and got loads of business from it. And then I ghostwrote a book for someone, sent it to my now agent, and he read it, said, I don't like this, but have you got anything? And I said, well, yes, I do. I happen to have this book I've been rewriting for 7 years. Here we go, and sent it to him. And then he very, well, actually it wasn't that quick, but he got it published reasonably seamlessly, actually. And yeah, and I found out after I just had my first baby and was feeling utterly postnatally depressed and miserable and got this email and it didn't cheer me up at all. I was like,
oh wow, yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. It was only like a month later I kind of like, yeah, that's great. This is really good news,
You guys say that, you guys save that for your kids and tell them later on that even you ruined me so much that even getting published didn't bring up.
I tell them every day.
I was going to say, that's the way I do it with my kids. You got to bring them down. Otherwise, they get this big head about themselves.
Parenting tips by Suzy K Quinn and Doug Pratt.
That's our next podcast we're going to do. It's just us giving bad parenting tips. So you did kind of touch on this a little bit. You've jumped like a little bit from genre. You've written like what, romantic comedies, thrillers, some psychological suspense maybe. How do you switch gears, to go from like some lighthearted comedy to some really dark, like psychological thriller stuff?
So how do I switch genres? I think that it's not a good thing. I don't think it's a good thing. I think it's a much more sensible thing to stay in the same genre, write the same kind of thing and keep the same fans and that kind of stuff. And I'm trying desperately to find a series that I can write 30 books in, but I haven't quite found one yet. But so how do I switch? Well, I just, I think we're all the same, right? We're looking at stories more than genre. So when you find a really amazing story, it doesn't, and unfortunately, it often doesn't fit into the genre you are currently writing. So I don't find it difficult to switch. I find it difficult to stay in the same genre, which I know I should do, but don't. Because, there's so many exciting stories. And also writing different genres, it's so exciting. You get to see how the parts move and, you're kind of trying new ways of doing things. And yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah. Where do some of these, you say like these stories, where do some of these stories come from for you? Like, do you just have for me, I've got a backlog of them. Like they're just loaded up in my head like a Rolodex. I can flip through and pull one out if I wanted to, but.
Yeah, of course. I knew you would be full of ideas. I think, well, you know how it is. You kind of.
I'm full of something. I'm full of something. That's for sure.
Yeah. And great ideas being one of it. Well, do you know where your ideas come from? What do you think?
I think it comes from a lot of different places. I mean, Nick, you could chime in too. I don't know. Like, I think sometimes I see things and that can inspire me. Or, for me, I might see something and be like, hey, I wonder how I could kill somebody with that. And then come with a whole storyline behind it. So I don't know.
This is before you started writing books.
That's right before this was just as a kid. I was like, no, I was thinking, I don't know. I think there is just a variance, but I think we learn to some extent how to craft stories. I think that's part of it. And somebody like you starting so young, it probably helps you. Like you have an idea of, this would be an interesting story something I read in the news or something like that. So
I think we constantly absorb all that stuff, right? Everything you see a bit on the news, or someone tells you a story about something, and you take a piece of that and it starts triggering a thought. And our brains just attuned to think that way, I think, now, having written lots of stories. You just let this stuff come in from all over the place and you piece it together, and next minute there's something coming out and you're like, where did that come from? It probably from about 10 different places.
Yeah, it's probably true. In fact, the skill is really sort of filtering, isn't it? Because we probably hear stories all the time. So it's kind of like, which one's going to make a great story? And I'm probably learning more as I get older not to kind of go with some things that probably would make a great story, but I am probably not the person to write them.
Yeah, or it's not your brand.
Do you ever take, and I'm terrible at this, I do not do this, but do you ever take notes on ideas, story ideas that you can save for later? Like, I have them, but I don't write them down, so.
Yeah, I know I do, because you forget them, don't you? You wake up in the middle of the night with an idea and you're like, yeah, that's so brilliant. I'll remember that in the morning, and then it's gone. Yeah, I use Asana, the note-taking app and stuff like that. I've got like a book. To be honest, when I think of a book title, can you do that? You think of a book title and you've got the whole book there, really, like quite a lot of the time.
I was like, sometimes I get a title and I think I know the storyline, and then it completely isn't what it ends up being. And I look at the title and go, I wonder if I should change that, but I don't. So.
It's one of the challenges of doing pre-orders, right? Because if you pre-order in the back of the book that's coming out, you're like, for me, I'm 6 months out, over 6 months out, that I've got to come up with a title, a cover, and a blurb of some sort to know what the story is going to be about. Off the time, you kind of think of something that will go with it. But by the time you write it 6 months later, you write something completely different from the first idea, and you're busy changing the blurb on Amazon.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I completely see that. I came across talking about where you find ideas. I mean, this is going to sound really pretentious, but I sort of feel like the universe kind of gives you the ideas, right? And you're kind of like the lucky curator of those ideas, and you're trying to do a good job of those ideas and be a good custodian for the ideas you've been given, and you're trying to give it your best attention. So I suppose I sort of feel like, it's like all human beings are giving you the ideas all the time for the stories. But talking of an idea that I probably will not write, but was just great, was I met this lady the other day, and she was so fun. And she was from Ukraine, currently at war. And she'd been living in the UK for about 20 years. And her parents were in the Ukraine and were being bombed and stuff. And it was so stressful for her, but they wouldn't leave, right? They wouldn't leave to come to England. So she had to kind of trick them into coming over by kind of saying, I've got a holiday house in Poland, and then maybe you can come to the UK, and then kind of taking their passports and saying, no, you can't go back. Her dad wants to do an escape attempt back to the Ukraine. And I thought, wouldn't that be like the most wonderful story?
That is like brilliant.
Yes. A so-called asylum seeker trying to find like going, no, I want to get back. My cat's there, or whatever there's got to be some driving force, right? Because there's such a perception of refugees as these greedy, grasping, whatever. And most people just want to go home, so I just thought that was a nice way to tell that story, and funny.
Really, that could be a funny story. I mean, you get these older couple. I mean, right off the bat, you're already thinking like you're having to pull your parents out of a war zone, basically, which is exactly like the switch where now you're taking care of them and trying to raise them, basically, and exactly the kind of thing parents would do. Like, no, I can stay here.
So after Doug just told us that he never makes notes, he's furiously writing these notes down. He just stole your idea, Suzy, just so you know. That's coming out in 3 months. He's putting on pre-order tomorrow.
The pre-order is set right now. While I'm doing this, I'm like,
exactly.
Okay,
the new thriller, Escaping Back to Ukraine.
It's a comedy. It's going to be a humorous one. So
it's a comedy. It's a beautiful, but honestly, genuinely, I feel like the ideas are all of ours, right? So 10 different people could write that and have 10 different wonderful stories. Mine would obviously be the best, of course, but we could all write different versions of it, and that's wonderful. It's a wonderful thing that we're, so go ahead, guys, write the idea, but it's none of our brands. Right? That's the thing. It doesn't sit in what we're doing, sadly, which you guys do better than me, staying on brand.
Well, you do everything, so it'll fit in yours. You do everything, so you can just slide.
Yeah, you cover the gamut. Are you a plotter or a pantser?
It's weird because I'm so organized and controlling in every aspect of my life and so efficient in everything. And I want to be I feel like I am a plotter, but really I'm more of a pantser because I have an idea of the story and then it rarely goes that way. And then I have to kind of pull it back into shape and analyze it. I more analyze things at the end. Like, does it, okay, right. So does it kind of fit the set, the kind of archetypal journey that we want to go on and things. And yeah, I do a lot of changing. I probably edit things like 7. I probably do 7 manuscript edits next to Steve Higgs, who I'm very jealous of, who does 1.
Yeah. If that, he just kind of like, I'm done. So,
yeah, genius Steve Higgs.
That bastard. He's something else. Yeah.
So what do you start with? What's the key element that you have to have? Is it the character? I mean, if you're doing a series, then you've already got characters, but you've got to introduce new characters and all that kind of thing. So is it the plot, the one big kind of what if moment? What gets you started?
It's the hook, but the hook will be anything, could be anything really, that gets someone to go, oh yeah, I want to hear more about that. And I should start with character, but characters don't always come with a good hook. So that's why I do a lot of squashing, because I start with, and then it's like, oh, the character's not, they wouldn't do that. Oh, bloody characters. So time consuming. Yeah. So sorry for these vague answers. And also with each book, it changes. I've just written a cozy mystery, and I have plotted that quite a lot. And yeah, and that was kind of okay. Anyway, yes.
Like cozy mysteries probably have to little more plotting and planning, because you got to put the clues in certain places, right?
Yeah. But then, of course, you get to the clue and you're like, oh, yeah, but it's like a big Rubik's Cube. You kind of, actually, that doesn't make any sense now. Now I've realised those other 10 bits of information have happened.
Oh, that moment, Dan, when you're writing and you're 3/4 of the way into the book and then you get somewhere and you go, ah, shit, the whole premise of this thing doesn't make any sense because they would have, oh, no. And you're like, how do I fix this?
Yeah, I feel like a hack. I get to that point and I'm like, oh, my gosh, I'm just hacking it at this point. Like, it's just like, whatever. And it's weird because I'll read a book sometimes, and we were just reading something. My wife and I were listening to something together, and we both were like, I mean, I forget who it was, so I won't name them. They're traditionally published, a big name, but we were getting through it, and I'm like, it feels like I can predict it. It's just hack. And I'm like, they just threw this together. I feel like, and then I thought, do I do that? And so I start questioning, man, because sometimes you get to that point and you're like, this feels cheesy, this feels stupid, or doesn't work out at all. Like you said, the premise is completely shot. So,
but you usually knock it in shape, don't you? But I'm pretty sure.
No, I just publish it like that. I go, fuck it. I'm okay. Whatever. I don't like to edit. I do not like to edit at all. I just like whatever. Once it's done, I just go.
Or maybe this makes it very alive and breathable. Maybe I should leave mine alone. But I reckon there is a point.
don't listen to my ideas of things, because that's bad. So.
I think, I would. I definitely would. So I bet every writer gets to a point 3/4 of the way where they think the book is not any good. I bet. And at that point, you're kind of like, oh, I'm such a terrible writer. Why am I doing this? There's no meaning, But then you carry on. And it's pretty the difference between a writer and a non-writer, right? You carry on, get to the end and go, oh, okay, right, let's go back and, whatever. And then, or simply get to the end and finish it and go, you know what? The end is great.
Yeah, it's that 2/3 mark where you're just like, man, is this boring? Am I writing something that's really boring? And then you kind of push on and go, okay, you get to the end of it. Then you do your read through and you're like, oh, this is good. Well, I don't know what I was thinking.
I didn't suck that bad. Yeah. And then sometimes I get to the audio part where I'm re-listening the audio, and that may be like a month or two or even longer after, and I get to a line, I'm like, I get to a couple of lines, I'm like, oh, that's stupid. Then I get to one line, I'm like, oh, that was really good. I'm like, I'm pretty damn good. And I get a little smug. And usually I'm alone in the car at the time because I'm listening to it while I'm, so I'm not burdening anybody else to listening to my work. So I'm listening, I'm like, this is really good. I'm kind of proud of that. And nobody's around to look at it. So I feel like it didn't happen. So,
well, except for all the many, many readers that then.
I was going to say, it's all the people that read it and listen to it.
That's true. And that makes you feel good about that too. Like that builds it back up. Let's jump back into this because we'll ramble on for a little bit. But we're going to touch back. You did a little bit of traditional and definitely some indie publishing. What are some things that surprised you about each as you went into them?
So the big surprise with traditional publishing was it wasn't a kind of guarantee of success. Like and not even worse than that, actually. It was worse than that. It's not even 50% a guarantee of success. It's like 5%, It's 5% chance maybe once you've got the publishing deal that you have held up as the holy grail for your whole life and manifested and all the rest of it. And I did all the kind of affirmations and all that stuff. So that was the biggest surprise about that, and a horrible surprise as well, may I say, a very unpleasant one. And then indie publishing, I guess, was the opposite. What a surprise how easy it was. I just kind of put something up. I mean, I think it's got more interesting now. It's got more interesting. You've got to be more professional. And that's not a terrible thing, because all the people that really want to do it, you always find a way. So that's okay. It's not, it's not a problem. But it was a surprise. And also just a surprise how many readers were out there willing to buy books. It was incredible. I could not believe how many readers would buy books in a month. My book in 1 month, it was a real shock. And then when I heard all the kind of other numbers that other people were doing, I was like, oh wow, let's put me in my place.
One man's floor is always another man's ceiling. There's always somebody that's doing unless you're Rebecca Yarros. There's someone above you, right?
One day I will be bigger than Rebecca Yarros. One day. Okay, so Suzy, if you could go back and give your debut author Suzy one piece of business advice getting into this, what would that be? One bit of business advice, I would say make the main character more likable, because that was the problem with my debut novel, was I thought it was perfectly likable. I mean, but you have to really signpost in a book, like in big letters. You really have to show like this is a person on the side of humanity, and you sort of assume if you're a reasonably nice person yourself, which I think I am. I believe I'm on the side of human beings. You sort of assume, well, everyone's going to know that they're nice, right? And so, but no, that's not the case. You have to really signpost it. So that would be my bit of advice. But having said that, if let's say I'd done that with my first book and it had done much better, I wouldn't be where I am now, and I'm pretty happy with where I am now. So I guess it would just be, don't worry so much. It will, it'll be fine eventually.
That's a good point. But there's a lot of new trend for the morally gray characters and stuff. And I guess mine's kind of morally gray, but he still mostly would be on the side of humans, I think, like you say. I like that.
Well, but Slow Horses is a massive hit, and the main character is 100% unlikable. It's in every facet, except for the fact that he's so unlikable and belligerent that he's brilliant, right? And you're fascinated by him. So it's tricky to do, right? It's tricky to do, especially in a long series. If you've got a character that's in that gray area, they've got to have something about them people either relate to or wish they could relate to, or in some way. But that's fun to write.
It's often, and those are fun, but it's often the kind of people that you wouldn't want to know in person. Like Maggie Smith's character in Downton Abbey is brilliant. I can't remember her name, but but that is not. You don't want to be related to her. I don't want her to be my grandmother. She'd be like just scathing, but we love her. Like that is just like, Gregory House from House and like you said, from Slow Horses. Like these people are people you wouldn't want to know in person, but you're watching them aptly. So
I think you're both right about that, about the morally grey characters. And so an amendment to that would be maybe do things more intentionally, like mold the characters more intentionally. Because you're right, we don't want to rule out morally grey characters because they're really fun.
No, and I mean it's just it was a good thought. Like I like the way that we can veer off on that kind of conversation, because it is kind of interesting. People don't always consider all the aspects of it. We don't always want the Miss Marples out there. We want somebody who's got a little bit of dirt on them. Yeah, so
yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So you write some really, talking about writing some nice, great characters. You write some really brilliantly funny and real women. Like, how do you balance that humor and with the emotional depth that you put into them?
Oh, well, we're assuming that I have balanced it, of course. I don't know. That's a tough question, because when you write, especially when you write comedy, you sort of do it in layers. So the first layer is sort of the plot, and then some of the character, and then you put in the humor, and then it's almost like the final stage is you put in some humanity and some depth and some, they're crying over this, and they would really feel bad about that, so it kind of just, so I suppose I build all my books up in layers like that, which again sounds kind of pretentious, but it's just how I look at it. And I sort of, at the moment, I'm trying to make the female characters have something a bit more interesting about them. So my Love All Your Money Back has a main character with MS, but I didn't want it to be like a miserable victim kind of pity story. I want it to be she incidentally, she has MS incidentally, and it's a romantic comedy, and it's not about MS. It's not about her suffering with MS. It's not her complaining. It just happens to be this is part of her and who she is. And she still gets a happy ending, and it's still fun, but she's obviously got these particular struggles, but it's a comedy. And I think, if we can't laugh at stuff. I mean, laughing is how we deal with, or should deal with, most difficult things, unless it's someone's first novel and they don't want it to be funny, in which case, don't laugh.
If it's all sad, it may not be funny, but yeah. Old Yeller was a hoot, so I was laughing at the end there.
Yeah, really. So, okay. So a couple good questions to wrap up. So how do you build a solid reader interaction? This is something we wanted to ask you, because you've got that going on. So what's been the keys for that for you?
Well, historically, I've actually been pretty bad at that. So it's very nice that you're saying that I've got that going on. When I started self-publishing, I had no idea it was going to just explode like that. So it was, and I sort of very quickly threw up an email sort of capture thing and got like a lot of people on that email list. But the main thing I think I did was asking people to be Facebook friends if readers want to be Facebook friends. So I'm now in a really awkward situation where I've got like 5,000 Facebook friends. I meet people all the time and want them to be Facebook friends, and I have to kind of look and go, oh, who's not interacted with me for a while? I need to kind of get rid of them. So I'm not sure I am that great at it, honestly, Nick. And I kind of put stuff on social media, but if you look on Instagram, Facebook is lovely. Like, my friends are all on Facebook. People look at my posts and things and interact. But if you look on Instagram, I actually don't get many hearts or anything. I got some nice ones for my birthday, but yeah, so I don't think I'm that great. I am trying to do better. I'm trying to do my email list. I'm sorry to not give better advice here. This is kind of, I mean, I did the general thing, put a lead magnet. Here's a good bit of advice about building up readers is I did some testing on this, and instead of doing a lead magnet book, a lead magnet scene or epilogue actually works much better. And it means someone doesn't have to go to the whole thing of downloading a whole book and stuff. And I think people are more intrigued by, once they've finished a book, if they like the book, oh, there's an epilogue, I kind of want to see it. And they don't feel sort of cheated because they're like, well, I got the book, but they're kind of like, that's 5 minutes to read it. I'll just put in my email. And so that's quite a good thing for bringing readers in that I've discovered. But, test it for yourselves.
Yeah. I think we both have switched over to that, and I think we found that to be the probably most effective. Don't you agree, Nick?
Oh, it's been a game changer for my newsletter list. Is do a bonus in the back of. I've gone back and done it in the book ones, and then I do it in pretty much every book I release now. I do some kind of bonus, but I try not to do. I actually try not to do an epilogue, because I did get some. Hey, you put bonus and extra content and all this stuff everywhere, and you still get people going, I had to click here and click 3 places to go read the end of the book. It's like, no, it's not the end of the book. It's a bonus. So I try and do something that's really not, or it's quite disconnected in some way, rather than they feel like it wraps up the story they just read. It's kind of tangent to the story they just read. Like, you pull something out of there. Or I've done some, the book, as we record this, the book that releases today, I actually finished writing it in Grand Cayman. It's set in Grand Cayman. So we ran around an afternoon, took pictures of all the locations where Nora was chasing around the island, running after bad guys. And so the bonus is a series of pictures and locations, and hey, this is where, and this is how I changed this, and this is the view that the sniper would have had from here, and stuff like that. I think that's pretty cool.
I love that. What a great idea. Yeah, so there you go. I'm so behind.
You did a whole album, didn't you? You did a whole album for your, was it Cemetery Beach? Yeah.
Oh, for Cemetery Beach, I did a song. Yeah. So it's about a band from 1969 is the backstory. I do a lot of dual timeline. This is the backstory. So I wrote the lyrics to one of the songs that's mentioned in there, and had that song made. And now I've actually made the whole album, and I'm not sure what to do with it. I'm trying to figure out, but it's been a massively fun project. Yeah.
If you're a listener and you're interested, you can buy it from him. It's $100 an album, and you can get it covered. I'm
trying to decide what to do with it, whether to
do tell too.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe I'll do a Kickstarter with it, with a vinyl album of it or something like that. All right. So, Suzy, to wrap it up, we have a couple of questions we ask everybody. The first one is, what do you think your author's superpower is?
Good memory, I think. I remember
I'm
stuff.
sorry, what did you just say?
She's like, I think I remember it being good memory, but I'm not entirely sure. So.
I can't remember what she said.
I did. We can cut like the down a bit before I say good memory. I have to say the good memory is fading fast. Like I'm now I'm in my 40s, I'm like, oh yeah, I had a really good memory. That was a great thing. That was wonderful. I passed exams, all sorts of stuff.
I remember having a good memory, yes. So
I can't even remember having a good memory. That's how old I am.
It's less good, but still good. So I think that's my, if I had an author superpower, I remember lots of stuff. So I remember lots of conversations with people, intonations, that kind of thing. And so I think it probably helps, although it's now fading.
That is a superpower, no question. All right, to wrap it up, we're going to spin the wheel
of questions here.
And you'll get asked a random one off of the wheel.
Wheel of questions.
Yeah, I hope it's a good one. What's the most completely ordinary thing that you find completely annoying?
Oh, I've got so many of these. This is a good question.
Suzy's my people.
Is it just a British thing? We just hate everybody.
Yeah, get off my lawn.
It probably is a British thing, because there's probably a sort of thing that there are standards of behaviour that we should be adhering to, and you're not adhering to it, and now I'm furious. So, I mean, I could talk about this at length, but the first one is people that play their videos on their phones without their headphones at volume in public spaces. I was in a library today, and some youthful people came in, and one of them sat and started watching TikTok, and I was like, oh, and I kind of feel I have to go and educate everyone that they should turn their phone off in a public space, and that's not always, a good way to spend your day. In fact, it's a terrible way to spend your day.
I always find people like in the bathroom, they'll go to this stall, like they walk into a stall in the gas station somewhere, and they're watching a movie in there, and I'm like, dude.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing now, no one understands that phones were designed to put up to your ear, so you only hear the person that's talking. Everyone is walking around holding their phones out in front of them. Then they hold it up to their mouth to talk into it, where they yell into it. And yeah, oh God, it drives me batshit freaking crazy. And it's the world has been taken over by it now. It's not just one country or another. It's everywhere people are doing it.
What is yours, Nick? What is that's not the most.
I'm with Suzy. Anything Suzy says, I agree with on that. I mean, those two things right out of the gate.
I'm going to throw mine in, because mine is when I get behind somebody, especially like in a parking garage or a parking lot that is going 1 mile an hour, like, because I don't even know why. Like, there's nobody in front of you. You could put your foot down on the gas a little bit and move, but I can't stand that when I'm stuck behind somebody who's like moving intentionally slow, or they feel like it's intentionally slow. And if I had the force, I would have thrown them off the road. So,
oh man, you're an old crusty guy. I'm super patient driver.
You're super patient driver. Yeah, I can't imagine.
No one drives too slowly on the road.
But it's always an old person, isn't it? It's always an old person when usually it's, I think, this day. You didn't think.
No. Actually, I think right now, like the newer generation, the younger ones are starting to drive slow. I know, which is fine. I don't want I don't want anybody having wrecks. I'm not asking you to be racing around at 90, but hey, at least, speed up to 5 miles an hour. So
meet the speed limit, for goodness sakes. And by the way, there's no difference to me that they're elderly people. I should be sympathetic. I still feel irritated by that.
No, screw the old people.
And I don't drive quite close, to be like, come on. And I wouldn't in real life, if there was an old lady walking along the street, I wouldn't tailgate her and walk up behind her and go like, come on, let's walk faster, but I do in a car.
Yeah, no, that's like, no, screw the elderly, screw them. They've had their time.
On that note, thank you, Suzy, so much for coming on our show. We appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
Thanks, guys. See you soon.
Man, Suzy's always fun to hang out with. Had you met her before, Nick?
No, Nick was the first time I met her. So yeah.
Oh, really? I thought you met her before then, but boy, we got to hang out for a bit there, and a good chat with her. So she seems like she's so organized and buttoned down, and then she pantsers her stories. Yeah, she's pantsing with a plotter brain.
Yeah, well, that's it's good. Like, she knows her story. I think that's important. Like, you listen to her talk about it, like she understands. Immediately she sees something, like this story she talks about with this Ukrainian. That's a great story. I know it's not one she's writing yet, but she sees it. And I think when you can see those stories, the potential, I guess seeing the story's potential is really what she seems to master. So
she's very deliberate, right? So, and I think that's a mistake people can make when they hear people are pantsers, that they're not deliberate. being a pantser doesn't mean you don't know what your tropes are and you don't know what your story needs to be about or what your character's about. And you're just sort of making it up on a whim. I don't think it's that way in the least bit, especially the people that, I mean, there's incredible authors selling an awful lot of books that just pants the heck out of it.
But they understand story. They understand their story. They understand they're not, if you're going into it as I've never written a book, never written a story, never read much, then you're going to pants. The first couple of things are going to probably be terrible. I mean, mine were, I'm sure yours were, Nick. We were all like, what we wrote at first, it was a mess because we didn't really understand the story. Like, if you're going to be a pantser, you're going to have to at least understand the concepts of what your tropes and your beats, your pacing. It's all so important. And, it takes practice and you can practice as a pantser and you can do really well, but you gotta have to have at least a little bit of an idea of what the story is. So.
Yeah. So, folks, support the show on Patreon if you would. A couple of bucks a month. Help support the show. And if you feel you get value out of it, we appreciate the support. It keeps this thing going. Big thanks to our friends at Vellum because they help keep the lights on. We really, really appreciate their support. Go to tryvellum.com/2authors to find out more. That'll give us a little nod that you use that link, but we don't care. Just go to vellum.com and grab it. There'll be a link in the show notes as well as Suzy's links. And folks, until next time, be cool to each other.
Fair winds and falling seas.
You've been listening to the Two Authors podcast with Nicholas Harvey and Douglas Pratt. Subscribe on your favorite platform for new shows coming every week.